Brilliant. Well, a very warm welcome to today's Commodity Masterclass as part of the Towards Net Zero Coalition of Action. I'm absolutely thrilled that Bell Group is the host of today's session on the 23rd of October. So whether you're with us live today or you're listening to this recording in the future, you're very welcome. And we're thrilled to have you with us to help us really look at some of the challenges and solutions in the space of decarbonisation of the dairy supply chain. So as we go through today's session, what you should expect is about 30 minutes of presentations, and I'll introduce our great speakers in a second. We will have a possibility to ask questions at the end of the session. So for those of you who are here live, you will have that live interaction with Elodie and Simon. And it's great to know who's in the room. There's quite a large group of people who are joining us from all over the world today. So just type in the chat who you are and what organization you're with to give Simon and Elodie an idea of who you are. So with that, just for you to know, of course, with all things the Consumer Goods Forum, if you're thinking of your questions, we do respect the antitrust caution statement that you can see here on your screen in all meetings where we have many retailers and manufacturers joining. So to give you the context of today's session, the Towards Net Zero Coalition of Action, which is now 10 months old, when we looked at what the priority actions were for members of the Consumer Goods Forum and where we wanted to drive some accelerated learnings, this was one of the areas that was indicated in our priority initiatives that you can see here on the screen. So we have, and we will be announcing in November, some supplier sustainability targets and resources to support implementation. We've launched these Commodity Captain Masterclasses. This is a second in the series, and I'll share many more dates for the rest of the curriculum on our website at the end of today's session. And obviously we're looking at mobilizing collective action on retailer pathways towards sustainability. And all of this is done with the support of the Boston Consulting Group, who's with us here today. So this is your deep dive with the Bell Group, and I'm absolutely thrilled that Elodie Paré and Simon Bonnet are here today as your two experts. So as we are navigating through the presentation, please do make the most of their expertise and ask them the questions on what have they learned throughout their journey? And they're really going to double down on solutions that they have found and some learnings, but also a call to action for the rest of the industry that's listening on today's call. The final word from me is what I'm saying is we're navigating through decarbonisation and looking at all of these different commonalities. We're going to reflect with the team from BCG and the Towards Net Zero Steering Committee and what are we seeing across these different commodities? What are we seeing that's maybe working? Are there things that we could take from dairy to bring to wheat, to soy, to palm, etc.? So please do expect that as well as we navigate through these sessions. So with that, what I will do is I will hand it over to Elodie, who's going to share what you're going to hear today, whether you're with us live or listening to the recording, and then we will get into the session. So Elodie, thank you so much to yourself and Simon for sharing really transparent learnings with us today. We really appreciate it. We're in a peer network, so we're thrilled to have you on board. And Elodie, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Hello, everyone. So I'm Elodie Paré, I'm Sustainability Director for Bell Group, and I'm really very glad to be with you today with my colleague Simon Bonnet, Milk Purchasing Director. And the objective is really to give this second masterclass on dairy as part of the Consumer Goods Forum Toward Net Zero Coalition. So before deep diving on the topic with Simon, I wanted to share with you a few words about Bell Group in order to set the scene. So maybe Sharon, you can go to the next slide. Just to explain you who we are. So Bell is an international 159-year-old family company. We are present worldwide, and since May of this year, we are also a mission-led company. We offer tasty portion of goodness coming from milk, from fruits, and plant-based ingredients through iconic brands that I'm sure you know very well, such as the Loafing Co., Kiri, Babybel, Go-Go Squeeze, as well as around 30 local brands. And together, these brands and our 11,000 committed employees help the group to generate sales of more than 3.6 billion euro in 2033. So that's it for the Bell Group presentation in a nutshell. And one key point is that at Bell, we strongly believe that eating well is a human right, meaning that everyone should have access to healthy, nutrition food on a daily basis. This is why our mission is to give access to healthier and more sustainable food for all. And this is really a driving force to pursue 4 major objectives from the farm to the fork that you can see in this slide. Not going into all the details, of course, because we need to have some time in order to deep dive on the fight for the planet. But just to give you a global overview, of course, our first priority is to fight against obesity and malnutrition by continuously improving the nutritional profile of our products and to go towards a balanced portfolio coming from milk, from fruits, and from plant-based. The second key pillar is, of course, to preserve planet and to regenerate natural ecosystem in order to contribute limiting global warming below plus 1.5 degrees, notably, as you will see with Simon, by partnering with our producer all over the world to make regenerative agriculture a standard. Of course, as part of our DNA is really to make quality food accessible to as many people as possible by offering those portion products that are suitable for all moments, all consumption patterns, and also adapted to all nutrition needs. And of course, because we are part of a more global ecosystem, our objective is also to work with all our ecosystem in order to create shared value. Deep diving now into our climate footprint, that is one of our key priority, as you have seen. Globally, and key numbers, from farm to fork, last year, we have emitted 4 million tons of carbon. So is it big or not? To give you an idea, it is 15% of London City annual carbon footprint. And of course, I chose London because you know that this is where we will meet for the next Sustainable Retail Summit in Jan. On these 4 million, only 3% come from our factories, meaning our direct scope of responsibility. And it also means that the big majority of our carbon emissions, 97% of Bell emissions, come from what we call our scope 3, as you know, which is not directly, if I can say, in our hand, and that we need to be addressed collectively with all our ecosystem. And on those scope 3, the biggest impact come from raw materials, among which our milk collected represent half of it. So you can already see where to put our focus and our effort in order to achieve our ambition, limiting global warming below 1.5 degrees, as validated by Science Based Targets initiative. And so I think that now that you have all these key numbers, I will let Simo going into more detail regarding our purchase of raw milk, of course, and also concrete cases and challenges we have in front of us to accelerate toward low carbon practices.
Thanks a lot, Elodie. So I would say that milk decarbonization journey is a long journey, a long-term journey. So I'm Simon Bonnet. I'm the Global Milk Purchase Director at Bell. So I'm in charge of the milk supply for Bell in the 9 dairy basins where we are operating. So collecting and transforming milk into delicious cheeses like a Babybel or Laughing Cow or Kiwi. So it's my first role is really milk supply, and the second one is how to support all our farmers on the field to go towards more sustainable practices. So in a few words, so Bell worldwide milk supply, it's about 1 billion tons of raw milk collected every year. It represents about $500 million for Bell. It's about 20% of Bell purchase in terms of number. And you can see it's coming from 8 dairy basins. Almost half of our supply is coming from France, in the western region, but also in Normandy. After we are lucky to be in Azores Island, so it's a very good place to be. Very greeny, rainy place, and perfect to produce a milk, and perfect weather for cows. We are also in US. We are producing a Babybel in South Dakota. We are in Slovakia, quite a big player in Slovakia. We are also in Middle East, in Iran, so where you can imagine the condition to produce milk are a bit different. We are in Portugal mainland, Poland, and also Canada, so more smaller dairy basin for us, but very important at local level. So in terms of big numbers, we are not a big one in terms of milk collection at worldwide level. We are not as big as Danone or Lactalis, if we compare with French one, but we are a medium dairy company. If you can move on, Sharon. And so in terms as Elodie was mentioned, so when you look at Bell Global carbon footprint, 35% of our emission are coming from farm. Okay, so and if you add everything what we call the other dairy raw materials, so cheeses, milk powders, cream or butter we are purchasing, we reach about 56% of our global footprint is coming from that. And so if you look at, so nothing new on that slide about the main drivers, it has already been presented by Sarah from Danone last time, but I think it's good to remind. So where you are, when you are at farm, half of the greenhouse gases are coming from enteric fermentation due to the methane production in the rumen of the cow. 30 to 40% is coming from everything you are going to put in place to produce animal feeding. So you can see when you apply and deposit manure, the feeding, everything about land use change due to pasture expansion or soy and palm you may find in the concentrate. Okay, 10% is about manure management. So how we are going to manage manure, how you're going to store it, how you're going to use it. And the last smallest part, it's about energy, either on the farm or on the truck or when you collect the milk, it's about 5%. If you move on. And so if we get the global CBF framework, so what are the key challenges? And if we look at which one are the more representative for the milk supply. So the first one is high degree of variability in system across region. We will see that at Bell we have very different size system of milk production, and so you need to adapt to different models. When we speak about carbon reduction, you may have high overcost at farm level, either when you speak about investment you need to do on the farm or operational cost for animal feeding, for example. Lack of financing. Today you will see that a lot of the action we have on the field are supported by Bell financing, and if really we want to scale up all the action, we need to think about how we can finance it. When we speak about change of practices, you may have a transition period with a reduction in yield. Speed and rate of adoption of best practices. So a farmer or dairy farmer is producing milk according to his knowledge. When you want to change, you need to educate him, to practice with him, to show the benefit of the new practices. So it's not on one day. Carbon data. So it's very important to be able to monitor what's happening on the farm. Today, a lot of countries are lacking of carbon data. And of course, the last one is about climate and the strong dependency on nature, and especially carbon footprint from one year to other. If you have a dry period, a too wet period, it can change a lot how you are going to run your system, and a lot about the carbon footprint at the end of the year. So here you have the global picture. Now we are going to focus a bit more in what are the big specificities we have within our region. So maybe Sharon, if no, and sorry, and so we are going to illustrate, of course, this challenges with the three business cases. You will see one in France, one in Azores, and the partnership with Bovaer. And so when we move now, we can move on regional specificities. So we have defined at Bell 3 different kind of milk farms. What we call the mega farm. So it's a farm with more than 500 heads of dairy cows. Housing its 3 confined barns. You will have specific farm for the calf, for the heifers, for the dry cows, for the dairy cows. So it's a very specialized farm. Feedstock is mainly corn silage and local soy production when you are in US. In Iran, we are also about mega farm. Of course, animal feeding is a bit different there due to the local situation, and it's mostly about imported feed. And so when we are speaking about mega farm at Bell, it means when we are operating in USA, mainly in South Dakota, and where we are when we are operating in Iran, and it represents about 20% of Bell milk collection. After we can define what we call the intensive farm. So it's in between 100 and 500 cows head. It's mainly a farm we are going to find in Slovakia, Portugal, mainland, and Canada. It's about 20% of Bell milk collection. So here also the same. You have mainly 3 confined barns, but for the dry cows, heifers, or even the calf, they will be able to have access to a grazing area outside. Mainly we are based on a total mixturation based on corn silage and concentrate. And the last one is in France, we are calling this one family farm. In other countries, maybe you could call it intensive farm, extensive farm, sorry. So they are smallest farm, less than 100 cows head. It's mainly pastoral based. So the cows may have access to pasture all year long or small part of the year. The ration will be a mix about corn silage, but also grass silage, plus the production of local proteins like peas, alfalfa, and a bit of concentrate. It's what we have at Bell in France, in Azores, in the middle of Atlantic Ocean, and in Poland. And it represents about 60% of Bell milk collection in 2023. So here you have the really 3 different ways. And when we speak about carbon and carbon strategy, sorry, so our carbon strategy is quite easy to understand at least. We measure, we analyze, and we put in place practices. And so here you can see that for us, we are going to measure everywhere we are operating the carbon footprint of the milk, okay, according to the local tool or international tool we have at our disposition. So for example, here you have the percentage of collected milk covered by carbon diagnostic over the last 4 years, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. If you look at, for example, at France, in 2020, we have almost 50% of the milk covered by a carbon diagnostic, and at the end of 2023, 90%. In France, we have a local tool, which is called Cap des ER, and the carbon diagnostic are performed either by Bell Milk Advisor, either by other external actors. And so we have the same approach for all the dairy basin. You can see that we are going quicker in other, like in US or Iran, for example, a bit slower in other, like Azores or Poland. In US, we are using the environmental stewardship module, so the local tool. And all other countries, they don't have any tool to perform a carbon diagnostic. And so we are using the carbon, the Cool Farm tool, sorry, the Cool Farm tool. Maybe one exception, Canada, where we don't have any data. We are still collaborating with the local cooperative to work on that topic. And we hope that from 2025, we may start having a real data. So if you move on, so really we are measuring, we have results. So here you have the carbon footprint results for each country per year. So it's intensity, it's kg of CO2 equivalent per kg of fat and protein collected milk. And so you can see that you have a lot of differences in between countries. So you can see that in Iran is where we have the highest milk carbon footprint, about 2.5 kg of CO2 per kg of FPCM. And France and US are the two dairy basins where we have the lowest one. If we compare 2017 versus 2022, the global milk carbon intensity of Bell has decreased by 12%. Okay, and just for you to know, our commitment within our SBTi commitment is to reduce by 50% by 2035, 50%, so 50, to reach our target. So we still have quite a big gap to cover. And just maybe how we could explain the differences in between countries about milk carbon footprint. Of course, you have different tools. So if you cannot really compare CFT, the Cool Farm tool, with Cap des Zoères or environmental stewardship. The methodology behind it's a bit different. You have different maturity of the market. You have also a lot of differences in between one year to other. If you have a long dry period or very rainy period, you may have to purchase more animal feeding, more soy, more palm, when you don't have access to the pasture, for example. And so your carbon footprint can really evolve a lot from one year to other. So you have really significant regional specificities, but even within a country. So if you move on to France, so here, for example, you have the consolidated data for France. And so on the left, you can see the higher result for France, it's 1.77 kg of CO2 equivalent per kg of fat and protein collected milk. Average for all weighted average, so weighted average for France is 0.97, and the lower result, so the best in class, is 0.34. So you can see that you have a lot of differences in between the best one and the one with the highest carbon footprint. And in France, we are also able to measure the carbon removals thanks to the Cap des Zoères tool. And you can see also that when we speak about carbon removals, also you have big differences in between the best one and the lower one. So you have also high variability within a dairy basin. So here you have a bit what are the specificities, and so really the context. The main message is, as you can understand, there is no one solution for all. You have many different systems, many solutions, and you need to be able to define which solutions for which farm. Okay, so if you can move, Sharon. And so how do we work at Bell? First, we have defined what we call the Bell Dairy Charter. So the Bell Dairy Charter is a global framework. We could say a unique global framework with medium and long-term objectives. We have co-built and co-signed this framework with WWF France. So the first version of the charter was built in 2018. And we have renewed it, I would say, in 2023, after 5 years of a journey, due to new Bell commitments in terms of carbon reduction, but also all the learning we have accumulated during 5 years. And so here you have the last version of the Bell Dairy Charters, based on 3 key enablers. So partner farmers, how we are going really to be a partner for the farmer, to collaborate with them, to support them towards more sustainable dairy upstream. The second one is regenerative agriculture, because Bell took a big commitment about that topic in 2022. And so we would like all our dairy farms to be engaged in regenerative agriculture by 2030. And the last one is animals. So to be sure that we will ensure good animal welfare for all animals and a sustainable and local feeding. And so these three enablers will work all together for Bell low carbon, Bell carbon strategy to reduce by 50% carbon milk intensity by 2035. And so here you have the global framework. Behind this global framework, we have many levers. So on the next slide, Sharon. So today, so I put Bell as identified, but Bell and also the farmers, but also universities, also French livestock institute, for example. And so we have consolidated 32 actions to address milk decarbonization. Of course, we don't want to activate 32 levers at the same time in a farm. We have 32 levers, and according to the result of the carbon footprint, we will activate 2 to 4 levers in the first year or in the 3 coming years. Okay, so it's very important. We have a portfolio of action, and we will define the most relevant for each farm. And so just one or two examples. If you say, look at the line, no deforestation feeding for EU, so it means no soy and no palm coming from South America or from East Asia. So it could reduce till 7% greenhouse gas at farm level. So it's quite a good level. The time of impact will be immediate. There is a negative impact on animal feeding costs, so it's going to cost a bit higher for the farmer. And so the cost of the farmer, it will depend on the commodity market. If we go just on the following feeding additive to mitigate enteric methane, so Bovaer, we are going to speak about that a bit more in detail just after. You can reduce by 15% your greenhouse gas at the farm. Immediate impact, negative over cost, and so it will cost about 1 cent per kg of milk for the farmer. So here you have all the 32 key levers, and if we come back to all our dairy basins, so you can identify, if you can move on, Sharon. So for each of our dairy basin, you can see which one are the most relevant. So if you go to Poland, so Poland, really in between Portugal and Canada. Thank you, Sharon. So the priority is to work on productivity. And so we are going to work on reduce unproductive animals, and yield optimization is a priority. If you go to US, productivity is already quite high, optimization is quite high. We are going to really work on how to mitigate enteric methane through feeding additives, and also about manure management and methanization. Okay, and so each country, according to the level of maturity and all the carbon diagnostic and their knowledge on the field, they are going to be able to prioritize which action for which country. And so just to illustrate how we work, I'm going to dig a bit more in detail about 3 case studies. The first one is APBO partnership in France. So how we have built a unique partnership on the French milk ecosystem. The second one is how we have developed a partnership with DSM Firmenich first to test and to deploy Bovaer, their solution to reduce enteric methane production in Europe. And the last one will be about what we are doing around regenerative agriculture practices in Azores. So about the first one in France. So in France, next slide, Sharon. So in France, so just as a reminder, it's about 700 farms. It's about 450 kilotons of milk. And so we have started a new partnership in 2018 with our farmer organization based on an annual milk fixed price. So we are the only one having this approach in France today. So to give a visibility and transparency to the farmer. We moved together for non-GM feeding plus access to grazing for all the cows with incentive to support them. We engage in a carbon strategy. I'm going just to explain it in a moment. And we give incentive also for grazing and protein autonomy project. So about the carbon engagement, what is really unique in France. So we are doing a diagnostic in year 1, okay? All the farmers are going to have a training about climate change and the impact on his farm, on his production tomorrow. So all the farmers are going to spend 2 days in a room to be trained about it. And after these 2 days, they are going to identify with the result of their carbon footprint, which action they would like to implement in the farm. And after we come back 5 years later to do a second diagnostic and to see how they should have improved in terms of carbon. We were in 2018 till 2021, COVID crisis, Ukrainian crisis, inflation, cost of production very high. So we need to review our partnership. So in 2022, we worked on a new milk formula with a milk price based on production and labor cost. 100% of the milk price is based on that. So totally innovative also in France. And on top of what we were doing before, we also did a Bovaer study. We are going to see it a bit more in detail afterwards, and deployment of Bovaer. And so if you just push the button, Sharon, at the end of 2023, if you can, the key outputs is at the end of the 2023, we have a French farmer which are able to develop their production capacity. I don't know if you know the French context today, but it's not true for all the farms. 100% of the farm with no GM feeding and pasture access. 100% of the French farm with the first carbon diagnostic, with an action plan already developed, and 50% of the farm with a second carbon diagnosis already done. So here it's a specific context in France. If you move on, we will just have a look of the deployment of Bovaer in Europe. So we have started the partnership with DSM Firmenich in 2022. We have started before Bovaer was approved by EU. So it was also a bet for us, I would say, but a common bet with DSM Firmenich. We started with a pilot in Slovakia in 2 farms during 3 months to see the feasibility to supply Bovaer to the farm. We had a very positive result, and so we decided in July 2023 to deploy Bovaer in Slovakia with an incentive of 1 cent per kg of milk to cover the overcost of the farmer. And at the end of this year, 2024, about 50% of the milk will come from cows fed with Bovaer. At the same time, we had the same approach in France with our farmer organization, but also in collaboration with the French Institute of Livestock. So they run the study, and we made the public the result of the study to share with all the French milk community. So pilot in 5 farms during 3 months, very positive results. And we have started the deployment of Bovaer in France for the farmer who wanted to participate last summer, and we have few farmers with Bovaer today. To a 2-year journey to deployment of Bovaer at Bell in Europe. And so now we are looking to other countries like North America to be able to develop there. And so the last study will be on Azores. So Azores, there we started in 2022 a pilot with 5 farms. And the focus was really on soil health and grazing management, because we have perfect condition to have grazing cows in Azores, but the issue is they are using a lot of concentrate to produce milk, so there is an issue there. So we decided to move on regenerative agriculture with external experts about grazing, about soil health, about seed. We have very positive result after the 3 years in Azores, mainly to improve grazing system and optimization of grazing feeding for the cow, and to reduce the use of concentrate, but also of fertilizers. And so a positive impact on the margin for the farmer. So quite good success. We would like to start the scale up in 2025. So we have already identified 15 farms to go on. We have associated the local cooperative and the farmer organization. So there is a high potential to scale up. Maybe it's quite difficult to change a full ecosystem. Just for you to understand, the cooperative, they are producing milk, but they are also selling fertilizers and concentrate to the dairy farm. So if we say we are going to be better in pasture grazing, you are going to also to sell less fertilizer and less concentrate. Their business also is going to be impacted. So we are working also on how to compensate this business they are going to lose. So here you have the three just illustration on how we are really running the transformation on the field. And just maybe to conclude, because I see the time is flying. So the key learnings for us, first, data is key to be able to measure, to monitor, and to take decision. So when we say MRV is mandatory, it's really mandatory, and especially on milk, where you have so different farms, you don't have one solution for all the farms. You need to be able to measure and monitor and to take the good decisions, the relevant decision for each farm. So there is not a single solution, as already said. And the farmers have been produce milk in one way during many years, and so they really need to get a financial and technical support to assume the risk during the transition period. Because for the farmer there is a risk, and you need to share the risk with the farmer to be able to go towards a more sustainable dairy upstream. So here you have really our key learnings, the key challenges in front of us. So how we will be able to finance the scale up, the transition, how we will be able to reach all our commitments. So Bell is supporting a lot today from a financial point of view, how we can also engage other companies. And here we were speaking about direct sourcing, so with our farmers, but we are also purchasing many other dairy raw material in B2B, and how we can be able to also participate or to engage our supplier in decarbonization. And so really it's a key for us. And so this CGF is the perfect platform also to have a call to action. So really to embark all the milk actors or dairy actors into decarbonization, because if we want to reach our commitments, we also need to engage our supplier of rank 2, 3, and 4, not only rank 1. And here it's a bigger challenge. And so maybe Sharon, if you can push the button twice. And the last one, we have not spoke about it today. It's about biodiversity and water management. They are key enabler for the decarbonization strategy, but how we are going to include these two key topics also for us into our decarbonization strategy, how we are going to be able to monitor, to measure biodiversity. It's a lot of questions, and how we will be able also to support the farmer in the transition period. Thanks a lot. Here we are finalized the presentation.
You know, it was important for Elodie and Simon to share that call to action to everyone who's listening today, and see if there is a possibility through the Consumer Goods Forum to find a way to accelerate the decarbonisation and action in this space. So I just want to wrap it up with saying a huge thank you, Elodie and Simon, for everything you've shared today. The recording, the part of the session will be recorded on our website along with the slides. And as I said, we are working through a curriculum. The next session is on the 7th of November, where PepsiCo will bring us through the potato supply chain. And with the BCG team, we will look at what we're seeing and what we're learning as we navigate through these sessions, and all of the registrations are available on our website. So just a big thank you, Elodie and Simon. Any final message before we end today's session? Just no, thank you very, very much.
Thanks a lot, Sharon. It was a pleasure to share all of that with you, and
happy to answer the other question that we were not able to answer. So great. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.